Mic'd up.
Two of the Rovner Report, mic'd up platform, AJ Rovner, Steve Shanamanico. List of the events today. The shocking news in the NBA world is the New York Knicks have a 2-0 series lead over the Boston Celtics. Celtics were over minus 1,000 to win this series on the betting lines. Still favored to win this series, which is quite incredible with it coming back to New York. But nevertheless, Knicks, 2 20-point comebacks late in the third quarter. Truly incredible stuff by the Orange and Blue. We'll go into the NHL playoffs and talk about the Rangers' new hire, which was made official yesterday, hiring Mike Sullivan. And then lastly, we'll do our usual go around the diamond and talk about the Mets and the Yankees. And as always, Steve, some opening thoughts about just a week of sports, Knicks, Rangers, baseball, anything that's going through your mind.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. A lot of stuff going on. I saw a quick thing on social media with Mike Sullivan, saying how excited he was. New York Rangers fan base, the history of the organization, management, etc. That's basically all he could say because he certainly couldn't talk about the successes of the organization in their 100-year history. So, yeah, he's excited, which is nice. Always, he's got a good resume. So, we'll see what happens in the offseason and what he could bring to the team come the fall. Knicks, unbelievable 2 games. It was like deja vu all over again. Like you mentioned, 20-point leads, a team with the talent of the Celtics, and I guess they kind of figured they had both games in the bag. They didn't change their style at all. They were chucking up three after three after three, weren't using the clock shot at all, and the Knicks' tenacity on defense, hitting clutch shots, never say die attitude came back. Two of the most unbelievable games I've seen. Hats off to the Knicks and their fans. Deserve to win the games. Amazing that the Celtics are still favored to win the series. I saw they were -5 in game 3. But just because you were up by 22 games in a row doesn't mean it's going to happen in game 3. So good for the Knicks. The fans are pretty stoked right now. So should be a great rest of the series. Like to see the Knicks pull it off, though.
Game 3, most expensive conference semifinals ticket in history. No ticket cheaper on any resale site for under $800. Knicks 2, which is incredible. 5 wins in their last 6. No game has been over a one-possession game. They beat Detroit in game 3 by 2. They beat Detroit in game 4 by 1. Came home to the Garden to clinch the series, lost by 3. Then they won the series at Detroit. They won by 3. Then at Boston, 1 by 3, and at Boston, 1 by 1. I think it's important to note that the Knicks this playoff run are 5-0 on the road in 2 hostile basketball cities. Detroit, of course, known for the 90s ball, and Boston, who's been a powerhouse now for quite a while. A quick couple stats from here that is just incredible. Jalen Brunson's averaging almost 30 points a game, 29.4. Towns averaging a double-double. Mikal Bridges just never comes off the floor. It's pretty insane how much he's played. Out of a possible, trying to do the math here, out of a possible 101 minutes, Bridges has played 94. So he's pretty much been out there for the entire series. Now we will move on to the NHL playoffs, which surprisingly enough has not been as much of a surprise as basketball. It's usually the other way around, but still great nevertheless. Edmonton took a commanding 2-0 series lead last night. Watched that game. I guess you can also say this morning. Really just an incredible hockey game. Edmonton had a commanding lead, but they say it's the most dangerous lead in hockey. I believe they led this one 4-2 before the Knights came back. Washington won earlier in the day. winning 3-1. And then you keep on going to the other series. Toronto went up 2-0 over Florida. That's Sam Bennett's hit. Seems like it's really motivated Toronto. And then you have Dallas 1-0. So the only games that haven't had two yet played. But that will change tonight as the Stars visit Winnipeg. Steve, any stories? You're hockey buff. Tell me about what you've seen in round number 2.
Yeah, we'll quickly go around the 4 series. Rantanen's been the story in Dallas. Did it against the Avs, his former team. Came out with another hat trick game one. They won 3-2. I don't know if they could rely on that throughout the series. Winnipeg's solid. They had the miraculous Game 7 win to move on, but should be a strong series. Two solid teams. Caps, Carolina, tight checking. Carolina plays that style, in your face, throw everything at the net, but a lot of pucks aren't get to the net. They're still getting low shot totals, even though they're throwing 70 pucks towards Thompson. Caps pick their spots. They've been doing this all year, getting timely goals. So that's a good series, tied at 1. Tom Wilson's a wrecking ball out there. I watched that game yesterday. Uh, yeah, you mentioned Edmonton, first team to win 5 straight from behind games in the playoffs. Down 2-0 early in game 1. They came back and won 4-2 with an empty netter. Took a nice lead yesterday. Gave that up in the third period. Game goes to overtime. Puck comes off the sideboards around center ice. McDavid's got a full head of speed. I don't know what Eichel was doing back on left defense. Must have been part of a change or something. But the poor guy got on the rest. I mean, McDavid's coming at him like a freight train. I don't think any defenseman would have stopped him, but Eichel just looked silly right around him, 2-on-1. Thought the defenseman should have let McDavid take the shot, even though he's on the off wing. But once he gets over to Draisaitl, one of the greatest goal scorers in the game, buried it. Hill didn't have much of a chance, and they're up 2-0 on the road. A real tough place to win, Vegas, historically. But Edmonton in the driver's seat, man. They're looking real good.
Also, Hill was just phenomenal in that overtime period. Had to kill off a 5-minute major.
Yeah, that was a horrible penalty, undisciplined. I mean,
Definitely a penalty, though. Definitely a penalty.
kudos to the officials for giving him a 5. I mean, that was just a cross check to the face, drew blood, right in the rule book. 5-minute penalty.
And then I guess I'll take you around the association since Stevie Brody threw the ice. So we got 1-1 Thunder Nuggets. Denver. It was the first. Well, first off, it was the first time in conference semifinals history that all 4 road underdogs won each of the first games in their respective series. But the Thunder came back, dominated Denver in game 2. That'll be played tonight at 10 p.m. Huge game out there. Timberwolves Warriors. Don't see it a lot in this league, but it's a 6 versus 7 matchup. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, big scare last night. He's their best player, but Curry's out at least a week. That really hurts Golden State's chances. That's 1-1, though. And then the East. Who could have expected this? Cavs, Pacers. Pacers have a 2-0 lead. Cavs are banged up. Garland's out. Mobley's out. They take a commanding 3-0 series lead tonight at 7:30. And then the big boy tomorrow, Knicks, Celtics. Garn's going to be as loud as they're saying since the 90s, hottest ticket since the 90s. It's really going to just be an insane atmosphere at Madison Square Garden in about 28 hours. Also for the Knicks, I know it's tough to look ahead, but really good chance they could have home court for the rest of the playoffs. If the Pacers hold off the Cavs, they'll have home court in the Eastern Conference Finals. If anybody except the Thunder win the Western Conference, they will have home court in the NBA Finals due to seeding and the record of Denver. So certainly a chance the Knicks can hold home court for 3 out of the 4 rounds if they were to make it. And then another little side note is that the NBA Finals would start on my birthday, June 5th. So that would certainly be one way to celebrate. To the Diamond we go. Then we'll answer your questions. We'll talk about the Mets, Yanks, news surrounding both teams. I guess we'll start with the Mets news because I'm the fan. Then we can go to your news after that, Stevie Boy. AJ Minter, key left-handed pitcher for New York, he's done for the year. And then the Mets' second option all year, left-hander Danny Young, he is also out for the year. Jesse Winker oblique, those are never good. He went to the IL. So the Mets certainly with three key injuries there. Really just been rotating guys from the minors into the majors, and once they pitch, if they have an option, they go right back down, and it's just kind of a Ferris wheel there, or carousel as they would say. So certainly some banged up guys on the injury front since we last spoke. Pete Alonso won National League Player of the Month. Luis Angel Acuna won NL Rookie of the Month. Still doesn't play every day. That doesn't make much sense. But now I'll go through these last 6 games and then let you turn it over to Steve for the Yankee side of this. They played St. Louis, took 1 out of 3, played a doubleheader on Sunday. Should have easily won both games in that doubleheader. Mets had a huge chance in the 8th inning. Alonso struck out looking. That was the key moment. Blake Tidwell in his major league debut got absolutely lit up. He goes back to the minors with a 14.73 ERA. Even though it's one game, it's got to be a tough sight. In the second game, the Mets were resilient, but ultimately couldn't tie the game. They lost this one 5-4. The difference was a home run Max Kranick gave up to Alec Burleson. That was the difference. And then Arizona, nice way to take 2 out of 3 there in the desert. Lindor and Alonso each hit a shot in the first game. In game number 2, the Mets can't solve Zach Gallen. Second time he's went 6+ innings, allowing a run. Saw him once with my pops about a week earlier. The Mets hope they don't see him in the postseason. They have his number. And then yesterday, very odd sport at times. It was the Mets' 3rd game against Arizona, traveling after the game, and Juan Soto hit 2 home runs. 3 of the 4 have been opposite field. Kodai Senga has been phenomenal. I'd say, no, it's May, but probably the front runner to start the All-Star game. He's got a 1.16 ERA. So Mets come back home 24-14. We'll go into the next upcoming games here in a little, but I've spoken a lot over this stretch. So Stevie Boy, take it over with the New York Yankees.
Well, first, quick comment about the Mets. Holmes, they won the game. Holmes pitched first game in St. Louis. He struggled, 8 hits in 6 innings, but he didn't walk anybody, which is key. I noticed with Holmes, Canning, even Senga, who hasn't been pinpoint sharp, but his numbers are phenomenal. These guys run into trouble. They bear down when they have to. It's a sign of a great pitcher, and it can only be positive for the Mets and their fans going forward. I mean, these guys, they gut out innings for them, and they do what they have to do when go and get stuff, so to speak. Yankees, they started with a nice 3-0 win against Tampa. Fried was awesome, as seems to be the case every game he's pitched this year. Lost a tough one, 3-2 the next game. Leiter came in the 8th, nothing. I don't see him as an 8th inning guy, but they gave up 2 runs. They lost 3-2, couldn't get the big hit in the 8th or 9th to tie that game. Then they lose 7-5. Warren didn't have much in the game. Yankees battled back. They had the bases loaded, no out in the 8th. I believe Guerra hit into a 1-2-3 double play. They never got closer there. So losing 2 out of 3 at home to Tampa is disappointing. Then they go to play San Diego, who we talked about. Not only their record, their offense, their pitching staff's been phenomenal. And the Yankees lose the first one, a tough one. They blow it late. Williams comes in the 8th inning. Yankees had a 3-1 lead. He puts 2 guys on. They bring in Weaver, I believe. He couldn't hold the lead. Wound up eventually getting a loss. Again, 9th inning, Yankees couldn't come up with anything to get the game tied. Resiliency has been what they've been doing all year, even though they're a couple 6 games over 500. Come back with 2 wins against 2 good pitches for San Diego. Monster. It was an 8-run inning. Wells culminated with grand slam. They win 12-3 on Tuesday. Then they come in and they got out I think they had 3 hits Wednesday. They got it out in 10 innings. Williams came in the 10th inning. The ghost runner's on second. He hits a guy. He walks a guy, but he gets out of the jam, got the win. Yankees get a sac fly to win the game. So taking 2 out of 3 to San Diego's nice. Losing 2 out of 3 to Tampa, disappointing, especially at home. I talked about Tampa's, offensive inabilities, and they wound up pounding out 16 hits one game. So I don't know a whole lot about what goes on, but Yankees muddling through, I guess you could say, still on top in the AL East, which is usually notoriously a real good division. Baltimore's sucking it up this year. Boston's 2 games out, so Yanks benefiting from a mediocre division so far.
Doesn't matter if teams are being mediocre as long as you sit in first place in your respective division. We will answer the questions here. We had something about the Knicks here. Oh, this will be a good question we can both answer here.
Do you feel Juan Soto is now heating up and will make his mark against the Yankees?
That'll be a really fun series. That's in a week from today. Soto's certainly playing much better as of late. And that will be a very emotional series. I don't know necessarily for Soto, but for the fans of New York, both ways. That series is also at Yankee Stadium. I don't know how much Soto can feel because he was only there for a season, but the fans will certainly give it to him. I think it'll actually be worse than what they do to Altuve. It will be one crazy scene, I'd say, in a week.
I agree with you. Hopefully, both teams are still in first place. That was really cool. Soto is looking better at the plate when you see a guy drive the ball the other way, whether it be hit a single to left, a double in the gap, or hit a couple of bomb homers over left center. It's always a good sign for him. Numbers are very, very mediocre so far through 38 games, but he's a great player. We saw what he did last year with the Yankees through a 162 game season. So good sign for the Met fans seeing Soto get a couple of big home runs going the other way, and should be very interesting next week. I got to agree with you. I think the Yankee fans are going to be all over Wanzi.
We'll talk about the Mets now, and then we'll turn it over to Steve and wrap up matters here on episode 52 of the Rovner Report. So the Mets will play 3 games against the Chicago Cubs, who are the best offensive team in baseball right now. They're 22 and 12. 22 and 16. That's good for first in the National League Central. They're led offensively by a guy that's also on a 1-year contract that's looking to get paid big time in the offseason. That's Kyle Tucker. I bet Steve and Yankee fans are happy to see him out of the American League. Tucker has 30 runs, 42 hits, 8 doubles, 2 triples, 9 homers, 31 RBIs with a 284, 395, 547 slash line. He's also stole 10 bases. Ian Happ's having a good year per usual. Dansby Swanson still trying to get it together, but he's got 27 runs. But the X factor on that team is a guy the Mets traded, and that's Pete Crow Armstrong. 12 steals, 39 hits, 29 runs, a triple, 9 homers, 27 RBIs. You go to the pitching side of things. Shota Imanaga, once again, having a very solid year. He's got 2.82 ERA, he's 3-2, 110 whip. Jameson Taillon, a guy the Mets have never been able to solve. He's got a 3.86 ERA. And Matthew Boyd with a 2.75 ERA. So their top 3 pitchers have looked real solid. Their closer right now has been Ryan Presley, but he might have had the worst start of the season and probably will have the worst start of the Major League season. I don't know if you saw his line the other day, Steve,
Yeah,
against the Giants.
I
No,
think your pop sent it to me. He's got him on his team.
no runs, 5 hits, 8 earned, 9 runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts, did not record an out. You statistically cannot pitch any worse. Starting pitching for this series will be Holmes versus Tyone, to be announced for the Pittsburgh side of things, but McGill, and then Canning versus Boyd on Mother's Day. This should be a really good series. We obviously want New York to take 2 out of 3 at home. I think it will be a challenge. Tyone, really good pitcher against New York, as I stated earlier. We'll see how it transpires tonight. And then they play a franchise that could just never get its foot out of the door. I think that's the nice way of putting it. That's the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are already practically having a lost season. They just fired their manager. They've lost 6 in a row, haven't scored more than 4 runs in the process. They're 12-26, 5th in the National League Central. Offensively, there's not much to say. Brian Reynolds, who's supposed to be their all-star and best hitter, biggest contract, I believe, in team history, which says a lot. He has 5 homers, 19 RBIs. I mean, their RBI leader is 19. We're in the second month. I mean, the second week. Well, yeah, we are in the second month of the year and the second week of it. Their runs leader is O'Neill Cruz with 22. He does have 15 bags. Nobody on this team that plays every day that has over a 280 batting average. But they do have Paul Skeens. Skeens still been great and always gotten lit up here and there, but the strikeout numbers are down. But if you spot a 277 ERA and a .95 whip, you're obviously still doing things right. Mitch Keller's their veteran there. He's having a bad year. Andrew Heaney's been nice, the left-hander. But in general, this has been a really tough season for Pittsburgh, and it looks to be that way. I wanted Andrew McCutchen to make the playoffs one final time. It's one of my all-time favorites. Grew up with him. Still having a good year. Leads Pittsburgh in on-base, second in on-base percentage behind Cruz, but when you're almost 40 years old, that's not going to be enough. Skeens will be tough, but how tough can he be when their offense doesn't score? And then you should really take those final 2 games. I expect the Mets to take 2 out of 3, as I always say. Play 500 ball on the road. Play over 500 at home. You'll make the playoffs. I hope that holds true for New York as they open up their first of 2 3-game sets at home tonight against the Cubbies. For the Yankees, Steve, they will play the Oakland Athletics for a 3-game set. Well, they are no longer the Oakland Athletics. They are just the Athletics. They did not want the Sacramento trademark. If you look at their abbreviation, they are just ATH. No city attached. They are the first team in MLB history to not have a city affiliation. But the Athletics, they've probably been the best story in baseball so far. They're 20-18, second in the AL West. They did just lose 2 in a row at home to the Mariners, but before that, had won 5 of 6. I mean, there's no really names that pop off besides Brent Rooker and Lawrence Butler.
Amazing. Shockingly, have the best road record in Major League Baseball at 13-7. Shockingly, have a -24 run differential. Yet they're 2 games over 500, 3 behind Seattle, who the Yankees will go to later in the week. Second in the AL West, which is another division other than Seattle is kind of mediocre this year. A's have 2 former Yankees, Luis Severino pitching really well, and Sears, who's I always liked his arm on the Yankees. He never got a shot with them, but I like what he brings to the table. Offensively, there's a lot of guys there. I don't even recognize names.
Jacob Wilson's the best. He's been unreal.
Yeah, shortstop. Yeah, great year so far this year, 350 average. But Severino's got a 362 ERA, 1-3, a couple of tough luck losses there. Spears is sitting at 4-2 on the team with a 293 ERA, believable under 3 ERA, pitching for the A's. So team that can't be, they've been the doormat of the league for years. They probably brought up some young guys that are starting to, fulfill their promise. So the Yankees lucky though they're playing out on the road in Oakland, against the A's other than New York with the weather we have going on this weekend. Then, like I said, they head to Seattle, first place in the AL West. Julio Rodriguez has not been the A-Rod or the J-Rod so far that it thought he'd be. He's just sitting at a 220 average, 6 homers, 17 ribbies, but they're led by Cal Raleigh, 12 homers, big lefty bat, doesn't really hit for average, but he's got pop. And they have a good pitching staff as well. Castilla's still, throwing the ball well. Brian Wu leads the team. Logan Gilbert's got a good arm. So, be a good test for the Yankees, 2 first place teams right now.
And also, I think you have to bring up about Seattle that Rodriguez really hasn't been himself since his rookie year, really fallen off each of the last 2. Got that big contract, just hasn't been the same since. Also, just a quick note, the starting pitchers tentatively lined up for that Seattle series, and then we'll go to the Athletic series. Yankees will see Hancock, Wu, and Castillo. Fried is lined up for the opening game of that series, to be decided for that middle one, and Warren will get the third. And then in this series against the Athletics, it'll go Warren, Rodon, Schmidt, and then Beto, Sears, Severino for the Athletics. Steve, any final thoughts? Mets, Yankees, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, Sullivan, Rangers, anything. Knicks, once again, Knicks, what a story.
Yeah, no, the Knicks are the story right now, especially in our area. So it should be an exciting weekend. I mean, Yankees go out west, be a couple of late games and late afternoon games, which I don't mind. Not big games, big draws, not exciting guys out there to watch, but it's always fun to, watch the Yankees anyway. A's, Seattle aren't big draws. Kind of looking forward to ahead to the weekend series with the Mets next weekend. So just should be another good week of sports, especially in New York with the Garden going berserk this weekend.
Will be certainly a very fun next weekend between the Knicks, because they're guaranteed a game 6. That would be on May 16th, and then the start of the Subway Series. So certainly a lot of excitement to look forward to in the state of New York. AJ Rovner, Steve Shanamanico, episode 52. We will see you next week. Thank you, and have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day.